Hey guys, it's Nicole. I wanted to go ahead and do kind of like a quick overview for this video and some upcoming videos that are going to happen. I've mentioned before that I participate on an online forum that's pretty private. There's a ton of them out there in Facebook pages and different stuff that you can kind of join and be able to talk to other scrapbookers and kind of find inspiration, which is a big thing for me. I know typically when I get into a funk, it's because I'm not participating on the board and I'm not participating in challenges and stuff like that. And so from now until I believe through the end of the year, there's a challenge on our board where we're going to be working through the free sketches that were included in the Create magazine, which was published from Scrapbook Generation. They don't publish the magazine anymore, but it is, however, still available to view, and the sketches are available to download on their website still. And so I'm getting ready to start working on a couple of, I think the first couple sketches. What I had done is I went to Scrapbook Generation and I downloaded all of the sketches per month. And basically there is a one-page layout, two-page layout, a card, and a tag sketch. And I went through and let me find one I don't have notes on. And I just went ahead and printed them full page. Somewhere in my room I already had these printed, but I'm going to go ahead and through this process, after I finish the sketch, go ahead and put it in a sheet protector and put it in my binder where I keep my sketches when I'm done with them. That way I can kind of reuse them. I did go ahead and print out the card sketch as well as the tag for each magazine issue. And I sort of always start a project like this with like big goals and big dreams, and you know, I'm going to do all 4 sketches for each issue of the magazine. Will I be able to do that? I'm not sure, but I went ahead and set myself up to where I could if I found the time and if I wanted to. And a lot of the sketches, I'm finding that if I go ahead and, you know, pull supplies for a layout and use those supplies to make the tag, I can include the tag on my layout and sort of check 2 off of my sort of mental list of goals that I want to achieve during this challenge. And so the way that they have broken up the challenge is each week we're working through an issue of the magazine. And so I made myself a little cheat sheet, and these are not made to be able to see the sketch big enough to work off of. It's more of just something that I can take my pen and cross it off, because being able to do stuff like that helps me stay motivated and sort of helps me stay focused. And then I don't want to have to go you know, pull up the boards on my phone or go turn the computer on to figure out, okay, when is this layout due? Are we allowed to start working on this one yet? So I went through and just kind of made myself, you know, this is the week that it is, this is when the challenge opens, this is the magazine issue, the date that the magazine was published, and then the due date for my layout to post on the boards. And so I just went through and I did that. And then I dropped in the 1-page, the 2-page, the card, and the tag sketch, just because, like I said, this works for me in my brain. Some of the stuff that was posted in the challenge, it's a lot, and it was starting to overwhelm me, so I had to kind of scale it back to what works for me. So this is what I'm going to work off of, and then the boards in the magazine is there for me to sort of reference back to if I feel like I'm stuck. So I went through and, like I said, I printed out the 4 sketches for each magazine, clipped them together, and then I just sat down at my computer and literally just started going through folders in my photos. Like I would pick a year and I'd pick a month and I just kind of scroll through and see if anything stood out to me. And typically the 1-page layouts, there's only maybe 1 to 3 photos, and they'll tell you on here, you know, this one uses 3 photos. I'm a big believer in changing up sketches to make them work for me. However, most of them I'm gonna kind of stick to it as far as how many photos, just because it was easier to quickly pick like that. So stuff like the single pages, I would just sort of purposely give myself tunnel vision, and when I'm looking through my photos, I'm not looking at events, I'm not looking at anything I took 30 pictures of, I'm just looking at maybe a couple pictures that I would have taken on my phone. It's not anything that I have set aside that I want to tell a specific story, but I want to get them done. So that was kind of my game plan as far as that. And then when it came to the 2-page ones, I knew that those were going to be anywhere from, say, 5 to 6 photos up to 10 to 12 photos. So I could open myself up to bigger events and things that I had taken way more photos of, especially knowing that I can split a 4x6 and add an additional photo on that. So I just went through and I would find photos that I felt like they worked. I would make myself some notes with a rough draft of the sketch. I would make notes of anything that was popping up into my head that either I wanted to use or wanted to change or somehow incorporate, that type of thing. So like this one, I had said that I wanted to use the tag sketch and incorporate it into this layout because they already have like a tag die cut depicted on their sort of example of how to go about embellishing it. So I figured I could kill 2 of the sketches in one layout by going ahead and doing the tag and including it in my layout and sort of being able to check off 2 of my little checklist here. I think if anything I'm not going to end up doing might be the cards, only because first initial look at a lot of the cards, they're not what I would gear towards to make a card. I don't want to say that I don't necessarily like the sketch, they're just not inspiring to me to make a card. So these I may leave until sort of last minute and decide if I actually want to go ahead and attempt that. I'm more focused on the 1-page, the 2-page, and then if I can, doing the tag and including it into the layout just as like an added bonus that I was able to complete for myself. The challenge isn't strict as far as we have to participate in every single week or anything like that. It's very open to what we want to do. So I've already gone through the first couple weeks, meaning each week we're going through an issue. So I've got 5 or 6 issues that I have already gone and found photos for. I edited them, I sent them to Walmart to print. I just need to go pull them and sort of stick them here so that I have them. These I had accidentally sent with a different order, so I had them available to me. So today, this is the one that I'm going to go ahead and work on. It is the single-page sketch, which correlates to the magazine issue that was published January of 2014. And again, these sketches are free. So I can show the sketch in the video. We can talk about the sketch, we can talk about everything that's on here because it's free and they're allowing us to go ahead and use them. So for this one, I just have these 3 photos. I do believe that I resized mine to be 2x2 just because I felt like this was really small, and I know I can play with placement as far as maybe moving this kind of stuff down or just having these take a bigger space. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of do a quick run through of my room and start pulling papers and figuring out what I want to do and get started.
Alright, so moving on to the assembly of the layout, I typically tend to start with trimming down my photos and trimming down major elements of my paper, mostly to get an idea of if I need to change anything to the sketch, or in the instance that maybe I'm not following a sketch and I kind of want to make sure that what I have planned is going to work. In this case, I'm pretty much sticking very closely to a sketch, so there's not a whole lot of things that I need to necessarily change up. I am, however, not really paying attention to the actual sizes of the paper that they have listed and included on the sketch. A lot of times, and I think this is just a habit that I've gotten into from when I first started scrapbooking and I would scrap lift a lot and then kind of discovered sketches, is I have a tendency to look at the image of the sketch and pretty much wing it, and I'm okay with that. It's a process that works for me, and when you sort of develop these habits, they're hard to break, but they're not necessary to break either. So I have the major elements picked out, figured out, sizes that I need them to be in, and then when I was looking at the sketch, I decided that instead of the banner elements that they have portrayed on the sketch behind the photos and I think they're down by the 4x6 photo as well. I decided that I wanted to do something different. And when I was matching up my photos and sort of making notes and trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I had made a note, two different notes to myself that I wanted to maybe attempt to incorporate some sort of die cut Lego element or like paint streak style stamping. And so here you can see I am going ahead with some paint swatch stamps that I have. I believe these are from My Favorite Things. I would have to go back and check. If you want to know for sure, just leave me a comment below. I'm pretty quick about responding to comments. And keep in mind that the stamps are not going to stamp super smooth. They're not going to look super great, mostly because I am stamping on textured white cardstock. So it's not going to be as smoothed out and nice looking like if you were stamping on maybe like Nina smooth cardstock when you're making like a card or something. I am totally fine with this. I didn't want like this perfect looking stamped element behind my photos. I just kind of wanted it to be playful and work with my photos. I'm using all different kinds of ink. I pretty much just pulled out my ink swatches and figured out which inks or which ink colors I felt like went with the piece of paper that I have that includes multiple colors. And so some of these are ink cubes from My Favorite Things. Some of them are pigment inks from Mama Elephant. I believe I used, I can't remember if I used one of the Ranger dye ink pads, but I just used whatever I felt like matched the color. I wasn't necessarily concerned with the type of ink, and especially because I know that they're not going to ink smoothly. And like I said, I'm totally fine with that. I just wanted to have something behind my photos that was going to add interest, would support the theme of my photos in the sense that it is a layout of a child who is playing, and these style of stamps are kind of what I think about when I'm doing stuff like that. And I just wanted to do something different than the banners that were shown. I think originally I was toying around with the idea of trying to make some sort of die cut scene with Legos, but there comes a few times when, I've set aside time and I'm going to work on stuff, and I kind of have to make the decision on, do I have enough time to do this, crazy die cut scene that I've thought up in my head? And sometimes, yes, I do. I'll work on something for 2 or 3 days before I'm finished. This particular layout, I really just wanted to get it done. I wanted to focus on getting it done in one sitting if I could. And so I kind of had to figure out on my original plan what was I going to sort of let go of, and in that case it was this Lego die cut scene that I was wanting to do. I had spoken in the intro that I was going to attempt, if I could, to do the tag layout or tag sketch and the card sketch. As of right now, for the first issue, I have done the single page layout, the double page layout, and the tag. The cards, I'm not necessarily making them like a hard goal for me. If I get caught up on stuff and I've got extra time, or at the end if I want to do a couple cards, I may go back to those sketches and sort of challenge myself to do that. But as of right now, I have not done the card sketch. There's a couple sketches throughout the challenge where I've gone ahead and I've made notes and matched up photos, and I have looked to see if the tag sketch for that issue is something that I can incorporate into either the single page or the double page layout for that week. And this one, I decided to go ahead and do that. So I'm just still using that same stamp set, and I am kind of mimicking what I've got going on at the top of the layout onto this tag, so that the tag, doesn't have something completely different going on with it. I wanted it to look like it belonged, almost like it was a part of like the same collection in a way, but it's stuff that I've made myself. So I'm loosely following the sketch. Again, the sketch for the tag included paper banners going horizontally from the left edge of the tag. I am using these paint swatch stamps to mimic those banners on the tag. I feel like sometimes you have to kind of just go with, you know, the ideas that pop up into your head when you're looking at a sketch. You don't necessarily have to stick to them, you know, exactly as they have represented them. I did try to make sure when I was working on my layouts that I was not going into the thread on the forum and looking at everybody else's samples, because I tend to, like, it kind of interrupts my creative process. So I purposely did not go back and look at anybody else's layouts that they had posted until I had finished the single and the double page layout, because I wanted to sort of stretch my creative muscles in a way. Like, I just wanted to see what would happen if I wasn't influenced by, you know, layouts that my friends are posting and stuff like that. And I tend to be much happier with my finished product when I do that. There was a couple, because the challenge is open for a couple weeks, like, you don't have to do your layouts within a week's time frame. The challenge pretty much is open for a couple weeks per layout through the end of the year. And I did go through and look at a couple layouts from, you know, the upcoming weeks, and I just tried to, I don't really know how to say it. Like, I guess I tried to just not be influenced by other people's layouts. They're posting amazing stuff on the forums, and I just want to, like, this challenge, I'm taking it, you know, how do I interpret these sketches? So I want to make sure that for my personal challenge that I kind of stick to that, which probably seems weird, but okay, so at this point I have finished my tag. I added a couple label stickers from some October Afternoon label stickers on that tag sketch that you can see on my desk. You can see all the different paper elements that they have on there. Again, I'm very loosely following it. I ended up pulling out these super old Doodlebug paper frills, I think is what they're called, and I ended up trimming one in half, so it was just half of the scallop. And then I had originally pulled out some, like, realistic looking Lego paper, and it just wasn't working for me. I didn't like it. I felt like the paper was too shiny, and it looked weird on my layout. So I ended up just grabbing some pattern papers that I had already pulled out for this layout and trimmed them into what could be loosely called Legos. I pretty much just trimmed them into strips and then trimmed them down into blocks. I didn't really measure anything. And then I took a corner rounder and just rounded the top two edges, almost like if you have kids, you'll probably know what I'm saying, like those bigger Duplo looking Legos. But again, I wasn't really going for anything super obvious that it was Legos. I just wanted to keep with some of the notes that I had made for myself for this layout. There's sometimes where I sort of just forget to go with the plan that I've set up for myself in a way, and things just go downhill. So I tried, especially for this layout, to just stick to what I had kind of come up with when I was editing my photos, and by the time I finished the layout, I was pretty happy with it. So there's that. I did grab some black embroidery floss just to make my tag look a little bit more like a pre-made embellishment and not just be flat on that paper, especially because it was white cardstock on top of that white grid pattern paper, so it just wasn't showing up as well. And I didn't want to ink the edges because at this point I hadn't inked anything, so I felt like that would stand out a little bit in not a good way. So I just tied the floss to the top of the tag, and it kind of helped it. And then I had started to incorporate the black because of that bits and pieces sticker that I pulled off of the October Afternoon sticker sheet. And so I kind of kept with the black against all the bright colors, and I feel like it worked good. Like, typically it's good to have like a neutral mixed in when you've got all these bright colors. So I just went with Love of Lego for my title, and I remembered to stamp the date this time. You guys will see in an upcoming video that I've got a good 3-4 inch stack of layouts that I have to go back and look up the date for, stamp them, get them in sheet protectors, and get them in albums. But that's not something I feel like tackling right now. I went ahead and printed my journaling into strips. I like doing journaling in strips because it opens it up to being able to sort of fit your journaling in different places. So if you need to split your journaling in different areas of your page, you can, because it is in strips and you can sort of cut your sentences apart if need be. The journaling strips was the only thing that I inked, and I did a very, very light inking of, I want to say maybe Black Sit Distress ink, and it was mostly just because the white strips just kind of got lost on that white text paper, and it just enough to make it stand out, just enough for it to sort of have a stronger presence on the layout, and that's typically what I prefer. To me, the most important things are the photo, the journaling, the title. Sometimes I won't do a title. I feel like all the other stuff, like the fun stuff, the stamping and the embellishments and stuff, are sort of not as important to my process. And I think that's what's so interesting about process videos on YouTube and stuff, is you get such a wide variety of people's styles and, you know, what they go for. So that's pretty much the end of this process video. I am going to go ahead and put any of these videos that go with the create sketches into a separate playlist, and they will all be labeled somewhere in the title that they are, you know, like create sketch, in case you are looking out for these. So as always, thank you for watching, and I will catch you guys next time.